Step 9 for sex addiction. That's our topic today. And first of all, if you've got here, congratulations. But we need to talk about step 9. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. We got a lot more steps to go, and there's a lot of stuff for sex addicts on our YouTube channel for your own personal growth and healing yourself, your relationship, understanding your partner, all of that stuff. If you have a question, please put it in the box. We will get back to you as soon as possible. So stay tuned. Step 9 for sex addicts is such an important step. I think it's one of the most important steps. You know, step 4 and 5, you really clean out your stuff. But step 9, you take responsibility in a face-to-face way. So let me read the step to you, and then we're going to talk about this. Step 9, make direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. Now, this is a really important step. And there is some trickiness when you're a sex addict going through this process. So we are going to talk about what we need to do in step 9. Made direct amends. Now let's just talk about direct for a minute. Direct is face-to-face as much as possible, maybe a phone call. You might want to avoid anything where people are recording you, like Zoom or things like that, because as a sex addict, the things you're talking about, making amends, might be deeply personal, and you don't want those showing up on Facebook or other social media things. So you want to be as direct as possible, but also discreet and responsible as you do your amends. But you want to be, you know, if you can get face-to-face with most of these people. Now, as a sex addict, you didn't just hurt the people you acted out with. You hurt your spouse, you hurt your family, and other things. Now, this is really important that you keep it to your sex addiction recovery stuff. But you do need to make amends to how that maybe affected you as a father, how that affected you in other ways. But you have to be really wise about the way you're doing your step 9. But the most important point, direct is most important, whenever possible. Now, some people, if you're on one side of the country and they're on the other side of the country, that might be a phone call, okay? Depending on the issue, it might be something in writing, but again, writing is permanent. So you want to be as discreet as possible on the way that you're doing your amends. Now, wherever possible also, because you're a sex addict, you've had maybe anonymous encounters. I mean, there's thousands of people in pornography. You might feel that you have impacted because you bought their stuff and you perpetuated an industry you don't like. Okay, but when you're talking about people, these are people you probably know, interacted with, and you really want to get these people direct amends. Now, this last clause that we're going to talk about is not an excuse not to do hard work. It is not an excuse for you to decide, well, I don't really want to do that one. That one really, I can't go there. No, this is about you going where you don't want to go. However, if you're married, you also have a responsibility to talk through this a little bit. Because if you're going to go through past partners, girlfriends, boyfriends, ex-wives, ex-husbands, stuff like that, those have value to do. However, you don't want to violate the marriage you're in. So you want to talk to your sponsor, your therapist, and if you need to talk to your spouse, it's very important that you do that, especially if it's an ex-wife or ex-sex partner, because they would certainly be concerned that you would, you know, possibly get energy from that, or something could happen. You need to be super sensitive on this. Now, I don't want you making that decision. Talk to your therapist, talk to your sponsor, and talk to your spouse, because if they are part of this, it's really important you don't go call an ex-girlfriend or boyfriend and say, hey, I'm sorry for what I did to you, and then keep that a secret with your spouse. If you're going to do it, some spouses are like, that's fine. You do need to do that because you did really ruin their lives, but I'm going to be sitting over here so I know that all you're doing is making your amends, or that your sponsor is going to be sitting next to you so they can clearly report that you didn't go into any inappropriate conversations. This is really tricky as a sex addict. You want to be super, super clear. And there are situations where you can't do it. You know, it was an anonymous encounter. It was a prostitute. it was a one-night stand, it was a person you met at a bar, and you just used them for sex. So for some of them, you can do like the empty chair thing, where you just take responsibility, ask them to forgive you, and maybe role play them. You can do it that way. Or write them a letter that you just write down and cover it with your sponsor, another way of making an amend, so that you can actually clear up maybe some of the people that you don't even know their names, or it might even be just a place. Like I was in Chicago, I don't remember exactly even all the circumstances, but I know I used them, and you want to write that down. So step 9 is huge, it's so important. I remember when I did step 9, now I was not married when I did step 9, so I didn't have to include my spouse in that process. But I remember going to the people that I really knew that I hurt, and you did a really good list in step 8. And I went to each one, and I took responsibility, and for most of them I asked forgiveness, and I didn't have any outcome ideas. And I really want right now to talk about that a minute. Do not assume that just because you're growing in recovery and that you're maturing, that you're taking responsibility, that people are going to like you any better. They might not still like you, and they might not want to be in a relationship with you. You're not doing this to rebuild relationships. You're doing this to own your own past and to be free from your past. If someone still thinks that you're not wonderful, let them be where they are. That's not the goal of step 9. The goal of step 9 is to clean up your past. If you've done that, you will look at your past differently. You won't have shame, guilt, or fear about any of those things. That's the beauty of step 9. So please don't have expectations. For those people you think that are exceptions, get at least 2 other opinions: sponsor, therapist, and if it's a romantic situation that could impact your marriage, you need to talk to your spouse about that. And they might be better off with you just doing a letter or an empty chair, or your sponsors there with you when you do that, or they are there with you. This is really tricky as a sex addict, so don't become independent. I'm gonna do all these people, I'm gonna call that ex-girlfriend or boyfriend, and it's just part of my recovery. You need to honor the relationships you're in right now, and make sure that as you do your step 9, that you are thoroughly doing as much as you can, making the amends that you can, and also in the same way balancing that with honoring the current marriage or relationship you're in. This is a very important step. Really, if you have the workbook, please use the workbook. Go through this, check off each person, and as you do that last person, you are going to feel so ready to do step 10, 11, and 12. You're going to be so free of shame, guilt, and fear of your past. You're going to be different. I was different, and you deserve that difference, so do your step 9. Now again, if you haven't subscribed, please do. If you have a question, put it in your box so that we can get back to you as soon as possible.